In Sanhedrin 59a, we read that not all of our brother Judah dislikes when Gentiles engage in Torah study. In fact, to some, they are viewed as a Kohen Hagadol, or a high priest, which is a very high honor. In Exodus, or Shemot, chapter 22 and verse 28, we see, "Thou shalt not revile the judges, nor curse the ruler of thy people." So maybe don't curse the Gentiles who are coming into Torah and trying to read the Torah. And I don't care if the Birkat Haminim Orthodox curse is just for the Sadducees. It doesn't matter. It's prohibited in Scripture. Now, I say this because if I'm using the Torah to validate Yeshua HaNotzari, that's Jesus the Nazarene, then they might have a problem with my study of the Scriptures. Now, here's a fun fact you may have not known about the Torah. When Exodus says eye for eye, tooth for tooth, etc., it's ayin tahat ayin, which is a metaphor. It is not literal. It does not mean you go out and gouge somebody's eye out because they gouged out the eye of another person. Rather, it involves monetary compensation, and Maimonides even speaks to this. We see that according to Wikipedia, this is a discussion that happens in the Talmud according to the law of the Mishnah, and Maimonides himself believes that the law's intent was to ensure a fair monetary payment for injuries rather than to inflict the same harm on the perpetrator. So the reciprocity was not literal. And of course, it was supposed to humanize the law and make it practical. In this Torah passage, we know that there were several incidents that would be classified as requiring monetary restitution, and that includes two men getting into a quarrel and one man being struck by another. And because these surrounding verses discuss monetary compensation, these rabbis and these interpreters and scholars logically deduce that eye for an eye is symbolic. This is why Matthew chapter 5, Matityahu, and verses 38 through 48, specifically verses 38 through 39, is one of the most misunderstood portions of the Brit Hadashah, because people say, well, Yeshua was doing away with the old law, because he's saying you can't literally gouge people's eyes out like you did before. In verse 38, we read, "You have heard it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also." And there are rabbis who say that verse 39 has no basis in Torah or in the Tanakh. But this is incorrect. As Yirmiyahu, or the prophet Jeremiah, is writing Lamentations 3, he says in verse 25, "Yahweh is good to those whose hope is in him, to one who seeks him." So this is his people. "It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of Yahweh." And of course, Jeremiah is reflecting on his oppression. We skip down to verse 30. He says, "Let him offer his cheek to one who would strike him, and let him be filled with disgrace." So this is about humbly accepting the people's mistreatment.